Chapter 24. I have a new name. When I got to the Phelps place, everything was still in Sunday-like. The hands had gone to the fields. It was hot and sunshiny, and there was that faint droning of flies that sounds so loathsome you feel like everybody is dead and gone. The place was a little one-horse cotton plantation looking like every other one of its kind. A rail fence around a 2-acre yard, bare and smooth except for some sickly grass patches. A big double log house for a white folk. A long kitchen joined to it by a broad roof passage. A smokehouse back of the kitchen. A row of slave cabins. One little hut all by itself, away down against the back fence. Some outbuilding down a piece on the other side. A bench by the kitchen door with a bucket of water and a gourd. Hound asleep there in the sun, more hounds asleep round about. But about 3 shade trees off in a corner. Some currant bushes and gooseberry bushes by the fence. Outside a fence, a garden, and a watermelon patch. Then the cotton fields, and after the fields, the woods. When I got near the house, first one hound and then another got up and went for me. I stopped and stood still. In a quarter of a minute, I was the hub of a wheel, made of 15 dogs, and barking and howling and more coming. You could see them all sailing over fences and around corners from everywhere. A cook tore out of the kitchen with a rolling pin in her hand, singing out, "Begone, you tige, you spot, begone, saw." She fetched first one and then another of them a clip and sent them howling away, and the rest followed. The next second half of them trotted back, wagging their tails around me and making friends. There's no harm in a hound. Behind the woman came a little girl and 2 little boys with nothing on but toe-lined shirts. They hung onto their mother's gown and peed out from behind her, very bashful. And then a white woman comes running bareheaded with her little children, acting the same as the other little children. She was smiling all over. "It's you, at last, ain't it?" I out with a yes'm before I thought. She grabbed me and hugged me tight while tears rolled down her face. "You don't look like your mother," she said. "But I'm so glad to see you. Children, it's your cousin Tom. Tell him howdy." But they ducked their heads and put their fingers in their mouths and hid behind her. She started for the house, leading me by the hand, the children tagging after. When we got there, she set me down on a chair and put herself on a little low stool in front of me, holding both my hands. "Now I can have a good look at you. We've been expecting you a couple days. What kept you? Boat get aground?" "Yes'm, she—" "Don't say yes'm. Say Aunt Sally. Where did she get aground?" I don't know what to say because I didn't know whether the boat would be coming up the river or down. Then I struck an idea. It wasn't grounding that didn't keep us back long. We blowed out a slender head. Good gracious, anybody hurt? "No'm, killed a slave." "Well, that's lucky. Sometimes people get hurt. Your uncle has been up to town every day to meet you." And he went back again. "No more than an hour ago. He'll be back any minute now. You must have him down along the road, don't you?" "Oldish man with a—" "No, I didn't see anybody, Aunt Sally." "Who did you give your baggage to?" "Nobody." "Well, child, it will be stolen." "Not where I hid it, it won't." I was getting so uneasy I could hardly listen. I had my mind on the children, too. I wanted to get them out to one side and pump them a little to find out who I was. But Miss Phelps kept running on. Pretty soon she made the cold chill streak all down my back. But she said, "But you haven't told me a word about Sis. Now just tell me everything. Tell me all about them. All." I was up a stump. I said to myself, here's another place where I can get to risk the truth. I opened my mouth to begin, but she grabbed me and hustled me behind the bed and said, "Here he comes. Stick your head down out of sight. I'll play a joke on him. Children don't say a word." The old gentleman walked in, and Miss Phelps jumped for him and said, "Has he come?" "No," said her husband. "Goodness gracious," she said. "What in the world can have become of him?" "I can't imagine," said the old gentleman, "and I must say it makes me dreadful uneasy." "Uneasy," she said. "I'm ready to go crazy. He must have come and you missed him along the road. Something tells me it is so." "Why, Sally, I couldn't miss him along the road, you know that. Oh, dear, what will Sis say? He must have come. You must have missed him. Oh, don't distress me any more than I am already. Something must have happened to the boat. I'm right down scared. Why, Silas, look yonder, up the road. Ain't that somebody coming?" He rushed to look, and when he turned his back, she stooped down quick and pulled me out. When he turned back from the window, she was smiling like a house of fire, holding me by the hand. The old gentleman stared and said, "Why, who is that? Who do you think it is? I have no idea." "Who is it?" "This is Tom Sawyer." By jings, I almost slumped through the floor. The old man grabbed me by the hand and shook, and kept on shaking. And then how they did fire off questions about Tom's brother Sid, and his Aunt Polly, and the rest of the tribe. I was like being born again. I'm so glad to find out who I was. They froze me to me for 2 hours. I told them more about my family. I mean the Sawyer family. They ever happened to any 6 Sawyers family. By and by, I heard a steamboat coughing along down the river. I said to myself, suppose Tom Sawyer comes down on that boat. Suppose he steps in here any minute and calls out my name before I can throw him a wink to keep quiet. I must go up the road and wail at him. So I said I would go up to town and get my baggage. The old gentleman was for going along with me, but I said no. I could bring it myself, and I'd rather he wouldn't take trouble about me. Before I was halfway to town, I saw somebody coming. Sure enough, it was Tom Sawyer. I stopped and waited until he had come up. When he saw me, his mouth opened up like a trunk, and stayed so. He swallowed 2 or 3 times, and then he said, I never harmed you, you know that. What do you want to come back and haunt me for? I said, I haven't come back. I haven't been gone. When he heard my voice, it righted him up some, and he wasn't quite sure yet. He said, don't you play tricks on me because I wouldn't on you. Honest Injun, you're not a ghost? Honest Injun, I'm not. Looky here, you haven't been murdered at all? No, I never was murdered at all. You'd feel of me if you think I'm a ghost. Well, wasn't he glad to see me again? I told him the fix I was in and asked what he had better to do. He thought a minute and then said, I've got it. You take my baggage and let on it's yours. I'll come a little later. When I come, don't you let on to know me. I said, all right, but wait a minute. There's one more thing. A thing that nobody knows about me, and that is, there's a slave here that I'm trying to steal out of slavery. His name is Jim. Old Miss Watson's Jim. He said, what? Why, Jim is... He stopped and went to studying. I said, I know what you'll say. You'll say it's dirty, low-down business. But what if it is? I am low-down, and I'm going to steal him, and I want to keep it from Mum to not let on. Will you? His eyes lit up, and he said, I'll help you steal him. I couldn't believe it. Tom Sawyer was a slave stealer? Oh, shucks, I said. You're joking. I am not joking either. I am bound to say Tom Sawyer fell quite a bit in my opinion of him. Well, I went back to Phelps Place. I got there ahead too quick for that length of the trip and had to do some explaining. It wasn't hard. The old man was the best, most innocent old soul I ever saw. He wasn't only a farmer, he was a preacher too. He had a little log church on the plantation that he built himself for a church and a schoolhouse. He never charged anything for his preaching, and it was worth it too.